Hey guys, it's me, Hand That Builds here, and today I'm reviewing Hobby Boss's 1/72 scale T-50 Pak Fa, better known as the SU-57. Now, I would like to quickly talk a little bit about the channel. I know that this is a review, so feel free to skip about a minute ahead if you want the actual review, but I would like to say that yes, this is me, Phoenix Labs. I changed my YouTube name because I didn't... Well, when you searched it up, something completely different was coming up, and Hand That Builds was a name that no one else had, so figured that would help people find me, but unfortunately that has led to a lot of... it seems to have led to a loss in viewership, which is sad, but what can you do? Anyways, back to the kit. This is the T-50, based on the early T-50 prototypes, and what that means for the actual kit is, I will explain in a bit. But yeah, let's crack this guy open. Now I have actually built this kit before. I bought a second one because the first one was pretty solid and I want to do a proper SU-57 paint scheme. So we'll go over the actual kit itself. But starting off the top here, we have what presumably is the clear parts. They are very nicely wrapped to prevent any damage or loose parts. Something I always like about a lot of these Chinese manufacturers is that they do a pretty solid job packing them, even if it is a little tedious to get them out. Nice and clear. We have two different canopies. This is the forward canopy, or the front. These rear ones are actually for two different variants. You'll see that one of them has a sort of ridge going over the top, while the other one is completely clear. And that is because depending on the variant of T-50, it'll have one of these two canopies. So that's very nice, very clear, very well molded. Next up here we have the, what I like to say is various small parts, but I can get it open. Here we have the engine exhaust, which unfortunately this kit does not have parts for thrust vectoring, which is unfortunate. But the actual exhaust pieces are pretty solid indeed. Here we have the air intakes, which have a small seam to them, which is a shame, but I feel like anyone with some sanding paper can take care of that. One thing that's nice about this kit is that you can have a pretty full air intake, so that's really nice. Here we have, I've had these things referred to as canards, but I think they're more accurate to be called leading edge slats, but I'm not really sure. Well, I know that canards and leading edge slats are very different, but I'm not really sure in the case of the SU-57 which one is correct, so leave that up to you. Here's part of the canopy assembly. Here we have the joystick, pitot tube, box, bits of the landing gear, some tires, and some turbines. All decently molded. Very nice. Here we have the forward landing gear bay door and some more turbines. Here's where this kit comes with photo etch. We haven't dug that out yet, but here you'll glue on the photo etch and it provides a pretty solidly detailed instrument panel, which is very nice. So yeah, pretty nice first sprue. Below that, we have what is very obviously the upper half of the fuselage. Let's quickly get this guy open. The fuselage is in two halves, and unfortunately, as you can probably see right now, this kit does not have the ability to have the weapons bay open, which I'll start talking about that once I get to the lower half, but it's a little bit of a shame. Alright, here we can get a nice look at the panel line details, if my camera would focus. I did do a build video on this kit, so if you guys want, you can watch that video. Actually, please watch that video. I did not get a lot of viewership on that video, which is kind of sad, but oh well. You can see details are pretty solid. The panel lines aren't all that deep, but I know a lot of people don't like deep panel lines. You can see part of the cockpit. This is where the sort of hinge will be, where the canopy can slide back and forth. Of course, that's not an actual feature on the kit, that's what it's like in real life. Here we have one of the ailerons, if I remember correctly. And you might be able to see if I angle this correctly. This does have some wire detailing, which I don't think any actual SU-57s will have, so you have to scrape that off. In fact, I don't think most T-50s will have that. This kit represents the early models of T-50s, from T-50-1 to... it seems just T-50-1, but T-50-1 was the first one to fly, if I remember correctly. Here we have the cockpit tub, which looks pretty Spartan, but as I mentioned, there are a lot of photo etch parts which you will be gluing onto there to improve the detail significantly. Here's the back of the ejection seat, front and sides, which the ejection seat is solid. Pretty basic kit ejection seat, but I'm sure most people will want it replaced. And you also probably saw, but bits of the cockpit wall are actually molded into this upper half of the fuselage. From below, you can see the air intakes. Obviously, if you want these smooth, you'll want to take some like putty and sand those down, those ejection pin marks, but I wouldn't say that they're all that important. They're not really easy to see, and I'm sure for most modelers, that's just going the extra mile. Yeah. Alright. Now, getting to our last sprue. This kit does not particularly have a lot of parts, but the actual build itself, having built it, I can say that it's definitely a really nice build. It goes together really good. Can't really remember any parts of frustration outside of the photo etch, which, well, I mean, that's photo etch, what you'd expect. Don't think any of the parts go together bad, but I will say the two fuselage hats, you do have to be careful in order to not have them misaligned. But you can say that about just about every large part. Get the camera to focus. There we go. Alright. Here you can see where the weapon bay doors would be if this kit had the weapon bays. But unfortunately, they are molded shut, so even if you did get resin parts, you're going to have to cut off quite a bit of plastic. Here we have the flaps, decently molded. Reflect the light, you'll see just a tiny bit of rivet detailing on there. Bits of the ailerons. The ailerons, of course, if you've seen one, can go back and forth like that. And real quickly, I would like to talk about the stinger on these kits. So I'm pretty sure pretty much any T-50 after the T-50-3 will have a extended stinger, which I don't think there's a modern, I shouldn't say modern, but I don't think there's a kit out there that actually represents an SU-57. But if you were to modify this kit to be an SU-57, you'll have to cut this off and extend it by a few millimeters. If I had to guess, like, actually I couldn't even guess, but you will have to extend it by a little bit. Here you can see the landing gear. Very nice. The pitot tube, which will also have photo etch parts for it, and the forward landing gear. All of which is, they're pretty decent looking once they're built. And flipping over, we'll see the landing gear bay doors. No extra detail to them, so that's all right. You also see that a bit of the pitot tube is actually part of the nose, so be careful with that part. Here we got the main landing gear bay, or the rear landing gear bays. Decently molded. And yeah, that seems to be about it for the actual sprues. Here we have the decals. Having used them, they're pretty standard Hobby Boss decals. They work, they go on nicely. You don't get a lot of them, and that's a bit of a problem because in the real life T-50s and SU-57s, you'll notice that there are these there's these lines that follow along some of the panel lines, which if you'll excuse the noise for a second. If we look at the actual box art, we'll see these pretty much these squares that are all across the fuselage. This kit does not come with these, but I do believe the Zvezda kit does. Don't quote me on that. I haven't built the Zvezda kit. I have built their 1/48 scale kit, but not their 72nd scale. But that does mean that you're gonna have to try to either find aftermarket of these stencils or in a decal form, or make your own, which I did try to make my own using by just printing my own, but I didn't line it up correctly, unfortunately. But it is definitely a shame that this kit cheaped out on its decals, because this is a very noticeable detail about all SU-57s and T-50s. So it's a shame. It's like the main gripe I have with this kit, because otherwise this kit is really nice. And yeah, and also the IRST is I think that thing is like solid plastic, so it's not like the clear plastic that most other ones are. So you can argue that it's just closed, but I feel like most people will want that displayed open in a way. But yeah, no, that's the main gripe of this kit. Coming back to the decals, we have the, we'll actually look at the sheet for these real quick. Decal sheets. This is for the same aircraft, T-50-1. Here it is in a unpainted scheme, which is not entirely accurate, I don't think, but this is kind of what it looked like during its first flight. And here's it painted, which is very similar to the scheme that was seen in Top Gun. It's a nice three-tone splinter camo. Nice blue 51 on there. And yeah, nothing much really else to say. I also think that you can see the pitot tube built there, but I think the real life SU-57, or not the real life SU-57, but the production SU-57 has a different pitot tube. Very lackluster on decals. This guy just, I don't think this has any decals on it whatsoever. It's just painting it. So you have decals for one scheme, and it's this one aircraft. All right. Finally, we have the photo etch. Get this guy open. I've already described what you're getting photo etch for, so we're just gonna be taking a quick look here. I really like wrapping up their photo etch pretty well, but that's fine. All right, so instrument panel, instrument panel, instrument panel. These are all instrument panels. This is for the gun sight, these two. That's a bit of the actual cockpit build. It's like a structure. Sorry, I'm coughing a lot. I'm really dehydrated, but bits of the pitot tubes. I forgot what those were for. I think they might have been buckles for the pedals. And we have an ejection seat handle. Now, finally ending off here, we have the instructions. Having built the kit, the instructions are really nice and basic. Already looked at that. Let's see the list of all the various parts. Probably should look at the front first. Mostly just warnings. That's awesome. All the parts, apparently, apparently D1 is not used, which I think D1 is that one canopy piece. So it's nice that they included that other canopy piece in case you wanted to build a different SU-57 model. But yeah, so anyways, as I said, here's the cockpit tub, instrument panel, all that goes together real nice. You can see the build for the gun sight, which is nice and detailed, but it's really hard to build. Decals, they have separate decals for everything, so it's real nice. IRST, ejection seat. Landing gear bay doors, or landing gears. 2 air intakes, which you all assemble into the lower half. You can see that there's not a lot of steps, but it's still a decent build. Sorry about that. That stopped recording for a second there. Here you can see the 2 halves being glued together. Front landing gear. Various other bits and pieces getting glued on, including air intakes, landing gear bay doors. And finally, we end off with the pitot tube, which, as you can see, that's a tedious build to say. Tedious build and a half. Nozzles and the various small parts that go on the sides of the fuselage. And the 2 different optional canopies, which one of these is the one that has the ridge on it, which I think D7 was the one that they said we weren't going to use, but here it is. And yeah, it's pretty much all that. Final assembly. Right, so final thoughts, having built this kit, painted it and all of that. I have done an actual paint scheme from the kit, which I'm hoping to do with this one. As I said, it's a really solid kit. It's pretty on average for most Hobby Boss kits. Good decals, or decent decals. Of course, as I said, they don't have all the stencils it should. Good cockpit detail, exterior detail is adequate. Unfortunately, this is going to require some modifications in order to be turned into a proper SU-57 or later T-50 variant. Build is nice and clear. Not a lot of parts as you saw, but it's still a solid build. Yeah, it's a really nice kit. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention this doesn't come with weapons, but you probably already saw that. Am I forgetting any of this? I am not. But yeah, also discluding weapons and a weapon bay. Overall, really solid kit. Really like this one.